Today I'm going to tell you how the 4 Porsches that I've owned have cost me less to maintain than a Ford Focus.
Most people will tell you that Porsches are expensive to maintain, but I'm here to tell you that most people are wrong. Sure, a lot of folks will point out the cost of an engine rebuild, but rebuilding an engine isn't cheap in any car. And that is something that's only needed in extreme cases. But I'm gonna let you know how I've kept costs below that of a Ford Focus that I once owned. And you likely haven't thought of at least a few of these tips. Just about any video on Porsche ownership will have the obvious things that you can do to keep Porsche ownership reasonable. Hey, I may have made a few hundred of these myself. These tips include buying a well-maintained document example and getting a pre-purchase inspection before you buy. Another piece of obvious advice is taking time to get familiar with common issues that are specific to a model and generation Porsche that you are considering buying.
Just don't let that scare you, as this is where most people will chicken out. Don't let that be you.
Now that we've got that out of the way, having a mechanic friend can help you keep your Porsche on the road without costing you a fortune. But what if you don't have any mechanic friends? Well, sometimes you're going to have to think outside the box to find such a friend. How I became friends with an ASC certified mechanic that helped me change the clutch on my Porsche 944 was thanks to my wife. She noticed that the parking lot of a local golf cart shop had a 944 parked outside regularly and called to find out what shop the owner used for repairs. They told her that he worked on it himself as he is a mechanic and gave him my phone number. One thing led to another and it turned out he was the brother of a coworker of mine. He really knew the 944 very well and helped me find good quality parts at reasonable prices. And did I mention he charged me an extremely low rate for his labor? The only downside was the help wasn't as fast as a shop would have been because he was doing it on his free time.
But then, beggars can't be choosers, and this saved me at least a few $1,000s in labor costs.
For jobs that weren't quite as much work as a clutch on a 944, which has been every other issue I've run into, I've done all the work myself. And I just remembered that this was supposed to be a product review video for the SC530 that I was sent. So I'll do a quick review and then spell out exactly how a Ford Focus cost me more to keep on the road than any of my Porsches. If you're going to work on a Porsche made in the last 25 years, then a bidirectional scanner will help you get back on the road sooner. It can also help you double check anything that a mechanic does tell you. Like a standard OBD2 code reader, it can check and clear codes, but it can also do things like reset the airbag light that you would normally have to go to a mechanic for. This is thanks to the code reader having the Porsche software installed. Because of this, it has special features that do active tests, so you can test things like making sure the tachometer is working correctly and check for failures in window switches. After purchasing the reader, if you pay an extra $60 to $80 depending on the brand, you can purchase additional software for other manufacturers. In my case, that means when the family Dodge Durango has issues, I can troubleshoot them as well. I think that's enough to qualify as a review, and a code reader like the SC530 will help you with a good number of issues, and so far it has worked well for me. Beyond owning the right tools like a code reader, YouTube videos and help forums will help you do most things on your Porsche. And doing your own maintenance will save you a small fortune in labor costs, making Porsche maintenance quite affordable. With some comparison shopping, finding a decent price for most parts isn't bad, although it is always best to make sure to do research on whatever part you're buying to make sure that company is good and that the part that they provide won't fail you quickly.
But I've found that labor costs you a lot more than parts, so doing the work yourself can make it much more affordable.
So how did maintenance on a Ford Focus end up costing me more than all the Porsches I've owned? This particular Focus decided to throw a rod, tearing a hole in the block when I was simply backing out of a parking spot. The car had just a bit over 60,000 miles on it and was just out of its warranty period. Because of this, it cost me just over $4,000 to rebuild the engine. The worst thing I've had happen to any of my Porsches was when the clutch went out on my 944, and that cost $1,200 in parts and labor to replace. But other than that, I've done all the labor myself and have only paid a few $100s in parts per job. All in, not including routine maintenance like oil changes, so far I've spent just over $3,500 in parts and labor for all of my Porsches combined over the past 17 years. So maintenance owning a Porsche, at least for me, has been less expensive than owning a Ford Focus.